welcome you and I want to thank you for giving us your time today to present the topics that Eddie and Peter prepared and the one that I want to wrap up this presentation session for today. My name is Andreja Ivec. I work as a Sales and Alliance Manager for Central and Eastern Europe in Liferay. I will bring you a little bit back to the past. It's 16 years ago. Instead of using Google as the most popular search engine, I used another one that is really popular and heavily used in Russia and surrounding countries. It's Yandex.ru. In 2001, they actually released this ad placement site. This was the first time when they could offer to put the ads without intermediate. They had around 2,050 ad companies at that time. That was also the time when Wikipedia was founded and Apple actually released the iTunes. Only 7% of people worldwide had a broadband connection. You actually connected to internet by using dial-up connection. But what I wanted actually to point out also, the 16 years ago, is consumer behavior. Can you guess how many people out of 10, so we have 10 people, 10 prospects, would make a purchase? Any estimates? One? Any other? Okay, 1 or 2 of 10 prospects would make a purchase. 8 out of 10 would do it within 2 visits, okay? Now we go a little bit closer. I connected to Yandex, it was the end of 2016, okay? Now you can see how does it look like. I'm actually coming from Zagreb. This is the city I live in and work from. And it's like tracking where do I come from and shows me some local data, you know, how was the weather and about Zagreb. So it's changed. What else changed? Well, 40% of population worldwide has internet. We reached 1 billion in 2005, 2 billions in 2010, and 3 billions in 2014. 3.2 billion of people are social media users. 91% of retail brands is using 2 or more social media channels to promote their product and services. What's the consumer behavior looking like today? We changed the final number, now it's 100. Wild guesses? How many prospects make purchase? 1 or 2. Less than a third will make it within 3 visits. The average number of touch points is 5. That's huge. That's the era of internet. That's the era of channels. So this behavior is way, way different. And it hasn't passed that long time. How to map a customer journey. I'll start with something else, actually. Eddie was talking about it a little bit in his presentation. The stories are all around us. Stories actually define the world. They've been with us from the cave walls to the telling, you know, the stories around the fire. They evolve, but the purpose remains the same. They're here to entertain, to exchange the common experiences, to share them, and to actually pass or teach the tradition. That was actually written by Francesco in Host in 2010. Now you're wondering why she's talking about the stories and the slide is talking about mapping customer journey. Companies nowadays, when they're selling their products and services, they're actually telling the stories to their consumers. But at the same time, those companies can learn and teach about their customers. So the best business storytelling tool is customer journey mapping. Why? Because actually it allows you to understand the story of your customers. Because it covers the whole story from interaction, first touch point with your customer, through the engagement, and ends with a long-term relationship. With customer journey mapping, you can touch one part of this story, or you can cover the whole area. This is the customer journey mapping and storytelling relationship. I think that you understand when you want to tell them your story, to be able to do it in the right way, you need to understand what is their story. In the following slides, I will actually point you out 7 considerations that you should be aware when you're mapping this customer journey, because they're rather important and they should keep you on the right track to do this properly. The first one, do we actually know how this customer journey looks like? When you consider this point, and this would be the initial one, it needs to be from their perspective, not yours. We might imagine how it's going to look like, but that necessarily doesn't have to be the reality. You would think they will take a red line, but for some reason they are taking the yellow one. If you don't know how does it look like, ask. Find a way how to gather that information. You probably have lots of system data that will provide you that kind of information. But always start by looking from their perspective, not yours. Customer journey map doesn't fit one size all. That's true, because they're not two same personas, and not two personas will have the same experience, the same wow moments, and you need to be aware of that. You're probably not gonna track each person experience, but you need to be aware that at least you have to define enough number of the groups that you want to focus and that they share at least similar or close to similar experience, but not map it like it's the same for all of them. Use right data to define customer profiles. That's important because most of the companies are really good at gathering the data about their customers, and they have them a lot. But maybe sometimes those data cannot tell you what are the frustrations and what does the customer experience look like. What are the goals? What are the objections? And these are the data you need to gather. Don't use the sample data. Mr. and Mrs. might be useful, but it might be more useful to understand what are their expectations from your products and services. And if you have a relationship with them, then try to gather those kind of informations. Customer journey isn't static. No, an opposite. It's actually a wheel, and it turns around, and this is how you need to treat it. You're going to map this journey, but you need to be aware that it's going to change. Remember, 1 or 2 out of 10, and later it's 1 or 2 out of 100. That's a huge difference. You need to act like it's still dynamic and it's going to be dynamic, and review it. Web behavior is the only data we need. No. There is experience that happened before they came online and experience that was actually existing after that online visit. You need to map all of that. You need to understand what was the feeling, what was the expectation before and after it to have the full picture, okay? It takes 2. We've seen how technology can support you in that one. The technology cannot do it instead of you. It really takes 2. It takes human to market to human. It takes human to understand human. So it needs to be you and the technology. Not split it, but connected. And customer journey shouldn't have gaps. So when you start mapping the journey, the touch points and everything, probably, or you might discover that there are gaps between the devices they use to approach you, gaps between the departments, or maybe the gaps between the channels they use. To be able to deliver the right message, to tell them your story, you need to remove those gaps as soon as you discover them, okay? I came to the number 7, so these are like the 7 points I wanted to make. I will show you example of one of our customers. It's a Hewlett-Packard, who actually did a similar approach when they were rebuilding their partner portal 4 years ago now. It was in 2013. You can see the video. I put the link below, so you can check out the presentation from their partner manager, Ann Anderson, who was talking about this project on one of our symposiums. When she joined, she actually found the portal that was really not useful. They wanted to move from uncompetitive solution to competitive. They were looking for the platform to support them in that, but they needed to do much more. The technology they used was 10 years old. It wasn't customizable, but what they were offering on it was even worse. Their product informations were like 1 year old. They had around 3,000 content owners, and the amount of people who needed to use this partner portal to be able to do their daily activities was really huge, and they didn't want to use it because it was not user-friendly. What they did, they wanted to actually map the customer journey. Customers in their case are actually partners, different types of partners, distributors, partner types, and so on. And they took this outside-in approach. They asked all of them. They had dialogues with them. They had different forums to gather all the informations, how actually looks the customer journey of their partners. Instead of having like 30 sites where they had to sign in before choosing the new portal, at the end they actually had one single sign-on for the worldwide for 650,000 people in 174 countries and 40 languages. They had one content manager owner who is responsible for the updating all the systems, his team actually, and these are the results. So they got the feedback from their partners. They got like 10,000 surveys to go through and to understand how does in reality looks partners work, how they use the partner portal, and how does it help them in daily activities. It wasn't based on the HP vision, how it should look like. It was actually based on what the partners were doing in reality. This was one of the examples of the customer journey. What I wanted to say before I say kuzenem is for discussion more about the customer journey mapping, to join us on the roundtable that will start just as I finish the presentation. Peter Kalmar from Webtown will announce also the other roundtable topics. And at the end, like I said, kuzenem, thank you once more, and please be aware of these 7 points when you decide to map your customer journey or review it if you already started with doing this. And I apologize for my voice. I gave my best.